the renewal change at 22 is $756,000. So that just wasn't an option, right? And we've, of course, been working with guys for quite a while, and I think we've always toyed with the HRA part of it, raising the deductible and kind of playing with that and moving it up or down, or mostly up for the employees. So it's always kind of cost sharing, and in a fully insured environment, you pay premium. If you have a great year, you don't really have a chance to win. So I think when we were talking, in the spring, it was like, self-funded is really probably where everyone's going to end up. Most of our WCA groups got anywhere from 19 to 22%. It was just a tough year, and I think the inflation and the economy. We were doing this at this time last year. Things kind of fell apart. May-ish, I think. So this is the first crack at the whip that insurance companies got a chance to, kind of impose it on us. We didn't even see it for our summer renewals. This has been kind of a shock to most of the groups that we deal with. Average, I think, is probably 20. I've seen as high as 73% on a fully insured renewal. So it's crazy. I've been doing this a long time, and this is probably one of the more wild years I've seen with renewals. But with that said, I'm going to go through kind of the agenda for today. I've got the WCA and Humana fully insured options for 2023. We've got the 2023 Humana self-funded option. Included the Humana point of service or national point of service provider system list, just to show you who they have in the area, which is every major health system. Included some frequently asked questions around self-funding, and they've got a nice illustration that kind of shows you the difference between what goes into a fully insured premium and kind of what goes into your cost, and that's why I included that document. Then we've got the 2023 contribution illustration if we were to go down the self-funded route with that 10% increase. We've got the draft employee communication, and then we'll kind of talk about next steps. All right, page one, as I indicated, we got a 22% increase. So basically on the far left column, we've got the current WCA premiums at that 3.4 million. In the middle is the renewal from WCA at that 22%, which is almost 4.2 million, which is a $756,000 increase. And then on the right-hand side, we did get a fully insured premium from Humana at that 16.56, which is still, $569,000, increase. So not a lot of great options on the fully insured. But we did do, if you go to page 2, is that we went to Humana and we went to the market too. I think in our world, there's 20 stop loss vendors that we work with. On the fully insured side for employers, there's probably 5 insurance companies that you deal with. You're typically with one of them, so you have maybe 3 or 4 options. So as I talked with the district and had conversations, you just have more options from a self-insured side, from the risk mitigation part of it. So
can you explain stop loss just for people who maybe not clear with stop loss?
Yeah, absolutely. So you think of fully insured where you basically pay a single and family rate on a monthly basis. Your costs are guaranteed for 12 months. So it's basically, you have a set amount that you're going to pay, and it doesn't really matter how many claims you have, you're set for the year. In a self-funded environment, you pay for administration. So in this instance, Humana would be our administrator. We then have stop loss, where we have a retained risk. So technically, North Fond du Lac would be the insurance company up to $75,000 on every belly button. And you're like, whoa, that's a lot of risk. Well, we also buy aggregate coverage, which limits your exposure to 15 to 25% of expected claims. So you do have an umbrella cap. So in self-funded, you've got a floor, which is your fixed fees. It's your administration and your stop loss. And then you have claims, which is your variable cost. And then you've got your aggregate cap, which is your worst case scenario. So you say, well, where are we going to be? Well, I can tell you kind of expected. but I know where your floor is and I know where your ceiling is, and you're gonna end up somewhere in between there. First year, self-funded, it's not a full mature year, right? All those claims that are at the end of this year are gonna be paid by WCA. So the district really won't see claims. You'll see prescription drug claims. Those are typically point of sale, instantaneously adjudicated. It's those medical claims. That January 1st claim probably won't be paid until, I'd say, middle of February. There's just a lag. So year 2, we have to account for that lag. So there's probably, and I told Maria this, we did a 10% this year. Pretty likely we'll do a 10% next year too, just to make sure that we're not underfunding, the plan. Once you get past, the second year, then you're in a mature contract and, you're a little bit more predictable, if that makes sense. So if we go on to page 2, I'll just go through the parameters. So Humana obviously is the administrator. They're also the stop loss carrier. We have the ability, and this year I just didn't think we had enough time to really kind of go down this route, but we can shop the stop loss next year. And we can also do the pharmacy benefit. We can't do both. We have to pick one. So that'll be a decision year 2 as to, what's more advantageous. Do we find better stop loss, or do maybe we look at doing something around the prescription drugs, once we get some data to see where we're spending our money. Because right now, we don't get a ton of data from WCA. We get real high level data. But, from the broker perspective, we get quite a bit of information. It's protected health information. We're very careful how we, inform everyone, within the district, but we can use that to help create strategies to control cost. So it's just a lot of information and it's in real time. I mean, in a fully insured environment, we sit around pins and needles waiting for, the second week of September, and it's like 22%. And then it's this mad scramble to try to find it. By summertime, and all the self-funded groups that I work with that are January, we're doing renewal projections starting in July. And we update those every month so that we can tell you, wow, here's where we're at today. Next month of claims, here's where we're at. So that there's no surprises once we get to, October. And if all is said and good, we can lock things down that first week of October for, January. So I just think you're in more control. It's the unknown, when do you pull the trigger on self-funded? I think the market dictated it this year for us. Put us in a position where, boy, if I look at this sheet, when I get to the end, it's like, wow, our worst case scenario is 15.95%. If everyone goes to St. Luke's for heart surgery, not going to happen, but it's just my dramatic way of saying that, boy, worst case is no different than the Humana fully insured option. Now, when you look at expected, negative 1.47. So at a $75,000 specific stop loss, we have a 12-12 contract. A 12-12 contract means it has to be incurred in 12 and paid in 12. Okay? Some people have run out claims, maybe do like incurred in 12 and paid in 15. That just was not going to work for our budget this year. So the 12-12 was the one that we went with. I would say the handful of school districts that I've taken fully insured to self-funded have gone the 12-12 route. It's a cheaper contract, but I think where consultants make an error is that they don't account for that second year. And that was what I talked about earlier, is that we have to almost go with the mindset of, where we're at, it's going to be 10% renewal for sure, just so that we don't run a deficit. And in your world, you want to have a reserve account, right? We don't want to, I think the state will let us do. You have to have enough coverage and build up a reserve to do that. And that doesn't happen overnight. Don't get me wrong. I think Barron County went self-funded a couple of years ago, and I think they've got almost $1 million in their reserve. Franklin, we took them self-funded last summer, and I think they saved over $1 million as well. And still gave them a halfway decent increase to just make sure that we don't underfund it.
And I know Ashwaubenon also built up their reserve and they don't even need that $75,000 stop loss anymore.
They've been doing, they're probably one of the first districts that I can remember that went
Yeah,
self-funded.
yeah, and they've been able to do some pretty cool things too, like just give a premium holiday in December, just not
Mhm.
charge anybody in December, so it does give the district a lot of flexibility
Sure does.
that way.
And it's worked for them, and I have De Pere High School, and they've been doing, or I should say, De Pere, not West De Pere, but the old East De Pere, I guess they were called, right? But they've been self-funded probably since 2012. And they've had some couple of years where we've had some rough claims years, and we're running a little fever. And it's more on just catastrophic claims. And we're kind of managing through that, and it's worked for them, but I think I always tell people 1 in 5 years is going to be a year where we just have challenges. You might get into a claim cycle where you're running a little fever, but that's why you have a reserve account, just to kind of, you have a rainy day fund. Our enrollment counts, we have 152. I talked about fixed fees. So third box down is fixed fees and medical administration. So we pay Humana an administration fee to kind of run paying claims, customer service, doing all the things the insurance company does. It doesn't matter if they're fully insured or self-funded, they're going to do what Humana does, just like WCA does. Same deal. So they're going to run all that, and we're going to pay them $32,267. That seems low. The reason it's low is that they give us a credit on rebates up front. So when you're self-funded, your pharmacy, the drug manufacturers give you rebates based upon brand and specialty meds. So based upon kind of our utilization, they basically gave us a credit for that. I would say normally you would see this is probably closer to 150, 175. So they're giving us about $125,000, $130,000 of upfront credit on the pharmacy because they know that that's going to be coming in. WCA gets that same amount of money. They just don't give it back to you. They keep it. So that'll be new, I guess, revenue. You just won't see it. It'll be in the form of a credit on the administration. Below that, it's a stop loss coverage. So for that 77 or 75,000 12/12 contract, the annual premium is at that $779,000. So total fixed cost. So that's what I'm talking about. Your floor is at that 811,283. Make sense? All right. Below that is the variable cost, right? This is claims. When we look at expected claims, again, this is kind of an actuarial formula that we use. When we plugged in your numbers, it was kind of crazy because I did it two ways. Did an actuarial calculation, and then I took the last 12 months of claims and ran it up against 75,000. It was almost identical. So pretty confident that we're in a good spot there. And then the maximum claims is at that $3 million. Under a self-funded arrangement, especially when you're in your first year, they will do individual underwriting. So they call these lasers. So it's almost like a laser-focused underwriting on certain individuals. So for this group, and I don't even know who this is. Like I don't know if we even got a name for you on the number. I mean, we will get one, but I don't even know who that is. But we have one individual that has a condition where Humana is saying everyone's at 75. This individual is at 175. They're putting an additional, 175, or they're putting an additional 100,000 on one individual. Not uncommon, but definitely something that happens in our world.
And I think with the other stop losses, didn't they have 3 lasers?
Yeah, we had one. I think we had 3.
Yeah.
The 2, and I think of total was like 650,000. Actually, I'll give you this good context. I had printed my own here, so let me catch up here.
Do you want to use mine?
Nope, I'm good. So here, just flipping.
Share.
no, we're good. I have it on my computer too, it's just,
I mean, we shouldn't be able to know who that person is, right?
Mhm.
Right.
No worries.
no. And most times, we don't even bring up the condition, I mean, this is,
Oh, it's
a district of your size, it will stay within Horton. And, that,
Well, I'm just curious, 'cause I'm guessing the staff would want to make sure that that's kept
Yeah.
private.
yeah, and I think in the memo, we talk about that, the district will not have any, individualized health information. That's not our intent. I think anything that we typically do is more on an aggregate basis and looking at, because we'll get data and we use some analytic tools that we'll put in, but it'll be more around, what's driving healthcare, not to the individual part, but where are we spending? And where are some areas that we can make some improvement? Pharmacy is one, do we have a bunch of high-cost medications? Is there a way that we can help members source that a little bit more cost-effective, not for them, just not only for them, but for the district as well? Because self-funded, a dollar saved is truly a dollar saved. Now you pay a premium, and if you have a great loss ratio, they don't come back with a check and say, well, fine, like you overpaid. No, they just give you an increase. And then when you have a bad year, guess what? They give you a bigger increase. So we told these folks when we first started this conversation, when you're fully insured, you're self-funded, you just don't realize it. You're always getting an increase. Where here, you can actually, have ebbs and flows. And I think the level of trend on our self-funded block is probably in the 3 to 6% range. And the fully insured, I would say that used to be in the 9 to 12. Now it's probably more in the 13 to 20 range. So just a little bit more control, a lot more information, and a lot more direction from, consultants like myself, where we can kind of really help you navigate it and then give you information. It won't be in immediate time, but it's like a 30-day lag. So you'll get claims typically, probably 20 days. So we would get claims for October in the middle to third week of November. It's typically how it is. So you get pretty good information that's relatively in real time. So with that being said on the laser and the expected and maximum, we've got a range. So right now we're looking at 2.5 million or almost 2.6 to 3.2 million in claims. That's expected at that 2.6, maximum at that 3.2. And then when you add the fixed fees, so that again, that 811,000 plus the 2.575 million, that gives us maximum for our expected cost, that 3.3, 3.4 million. And then we bump that up against your current, fully insured premium, which we're sitting at 3.4 right now. It's about a 1.47 reduction. So again, probably 10 months of claims, but still a decrease over your fully insured premium. Now, when we look at the maximum, right? So what would that maximum look like? So we had the fixed fees with that $3.2 million. That gives us just a little south of $4 million, which when you look at it at the bottom line, our worst case scenario is at 15.99, which was our best. That was our best option for fully insured. So I don't want to say it's almost a no-brainer. You really have nothing to lose, right? From a first year perspective, in my opinion. Any questions? A lot of information there. I know it's, I'm trying to make it as.
Tim, can you talk more about like future wise and like being able to choose like the pharmaceutical and working that out? Because I think that's a really important part of it, because we have control of that as a district to find, the best possible and also financially responsible.
Yep. So, I would say the pharmacy world is probably the one that has really got the most attention these days. I mean, you watch TV, you see all those medications that are on TV, and they're anywhere from 75,000 to probably north of almost 200,000 on an annual basis. And these manufacturers have coupon programs, and you can source these medications through Canada, through FDA Canada. There's just things you can do that you can take advantage of that you don't get to do in a fully insured arena. So we can set programs up and work with vendors that will interface with members to help them source medication, qualify for copay assistance programs and manufacturer's assistance programs, where it's free to them and it's either reduced or free to the district. It's kind of crazy. We've been doing this with a company up north, one of our larger manufacturers. They were spending, I think, close to $1 million in pharmacy. It is now below $300,000. They saved like $700,000 in 1 year by integrating to a new pharmacy benefit manager that can do some of these unique things. Now, I've got calls into Humana to see what they'll allow us to do. But first year, we're going to see what we can get and what we can do. I think international sourcing is one that I'd like to talk to them about. We've got some direct contracts with a group called OptiMed, which is a provider and a business. So they have their own pharmacy where they can dispense and give us about a 20% discount, or if the medication is available through Canada, they can get it to us for 60% savings. Question is, will we get reimbursed on stop loss? That's the only thing I gotta find out from Humana. But that's kind of in progress. Does that answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you can bring in direct contracting. I mean, and we're doing, for Franklin, we're doing imaging. So like MRIs and x-rays and CT scans. We did a deal with MDI out of Milwaukee that gave us bundled pricing and case rates. And then we did physical therapy as well. And I think we're going to tackle ortho as another arena. And basically, we do a direct contract. You then go to the employees and say, if you use these providers, it's no charge to you. We win, you win. You just can't do that in a fully insured world because, the United Healthcares of the world, the Anthems, they got to play nice with all the providers. They just don't allow you to kind of pick and choose, a network within a network. But those are things that we can bring to the table.
Those are things that you administer on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, not the district.
Okay.
Okay.
We set it up. All you can do is pay it. That's all I ask.
How does that affect our fee to you?
Doesn't affect it at all.
Okay.
Pass along all the savings to you. I was told there, and I said, you pay me a fee. But there's gonna be a point in time where I save you a lot of money that I'm gonna come back and say, boy, you gotta pay me a little bit more. I wanna earn your money. I just don't wanna take it up front.
That's what the cookie's for.
And I appreciate that.
If that's the
There's
case,
no
you
way
can have
that's
mine too.
right. I get more cookies. My daughter's home now from college. She graduated, of course. Somehow she's still, mom told her to take the summer off. Summer lasts till November. Got a resume done, so we're baby steps here. So there's just a lot of stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that I've been doing for 20 years. I worked for Oriole Healthcare. We did direct contracting back in the 90s. And it's great that, I think a lot of school districts want to go self-funding. It's just when do you pull the trigger? And each year when you have a good ring, you're like, we'll do it next year. It's like, it's just a matter of time where it's just going to make sense. And this year, on paper, I think it really makes sense. Compared to what we're staring down from WCA and even Humana's own fully insured was a little bit higher.
On the EOB forms, it gives the rack rate or whatever, and then the discount with the contract between the carrier and then the health organization. So do you negotiate those?
Those are all done with the carrier. So we'll do,
Humana does.
yeah, they do that. But I think, year one, we're kind of, Humana was our only game in town, right? So we're going to take what they got. What we can do is we can do network analysis. We can do repricing. We just need to get a file. Hard to get one from a fully insured trust carrier, but going forward, we'll be able to get an extract from Humana, and then we can give it to other networks and have them do a repricing to see what theirs would be or what savings is available. So.
Okay.
It happens quite a bit. But that's what we do. I mean, that's kind of what we would do on a renewal basis, but, we wouldn't have to wait until we got the renewal. I mean, that's something we could probably do, July, August, just to see where we're sitting and what's available. And do I want to switch administrators every year? No. But I think once we get to the self-funded and we get into it and we get data, we can then look and see what is the best fit for your district. Where are you going? Where are the discounts from providers? And where's our best deal? Then where's our best pharmacy benefit manager? And then from there, all you do is switch out stop loss. And it's seamless to the members. I mean, otherwise you got to go through a carrier change every year, fully insured, right? So ideally, that's where I think I'd like to get us to. But
When was the last change we had in the district as far as carrier? Was it last year or was it?
2 years ago,
Okay.
wasn't it? We've had WCA, I think, 2 years.
I think so.
Yeah, we switched from WEA, but.
Kind of hard to keep track because we have off our own.
We have,
Which is,
we've been chasing those premiums.
well, I don't blame you. I mean, if someone's willing to give you a deal and it fits in your budget, hard not to take it, right? Because now I always tell, we'll be negotiating against ourselves for the most part, outside of stop loss. I mean, we are who we are. Which is, I'd rather bet on, what we can do for you than have the insurance companies dictate what we do.
And like you said, we're gonna face that 16% increase either way.
Mm-hmm.
One is a worst case scenario, the other one is a given.
Yep.
So it really is a no-brainer. Tim, do you want to talk a little bit about HRA and how we'll be able to eliminate that?
Yeah,
as
so I
well?
mean, so right now you're purchasing a much higher deductible, right, from WCA, and they give you a lower premium. And then on the back end, you're funding that deductible for members that, exceed the $300 and $600. Well, guess what? You've got a much higher HRA now. It's called stop loss. It's at 75. No need to have that HRA in between. It's just another level. The only reason you're doing it is that you're just trying to get the premium low enough and then take that savings and then pay those claims. No need to do that anymore. So on paper, when you present to the staff, especially for new people, it's going to be you're going to see a much richer benefit than what's our deductible right now? I should look on this thing.
We're at 2004.
Yeah, so 2,000, 4,000, you're paying down from there. You don't have to do that anymore. So there's going to be, it's not a lot of money, but probably $5 or $6 per head. I don't know, it's going to be about $5,000 you pay for HRA administration.
Oh, I would say.
So that can go away. You don't need that anymore. It would just be a layer that would be kind of just another hoop someone would have to jump through. Not necessary, because you're basically, like I said, your deductible, your new HRA is $75,000.
And it's a plus for the employee, because that's been the source of confusion and angst, I think. Now the EOB is what it is.
so when you say that 75,000 is the new HRA, you're meaning, not an actual HRA, you're just meaning
It was my,
it takes the place. So
takes the place of it. 'Cause
what about HS, health savings account? Is that any play a role in any
No.
of the new?
So we don't have a high deductible health plan. If we did, then people could put money into a HSA. We've got a bunch of districts and public sector groups that are going down that route.
All right, just
That's
curious
always,
about that.
that's an option as well, but doesn't really play, it's not contingent upon being self-funded. We can be self-funded and have a high deductible health plan. That's what you're asking. Those will work together.
But a lot of times people will use an HSA for healthier things that insurance won't pay for. So maybe vitamins, so they use that. And I have seen in certain cases that when you get people thinking that here's this this sum of money or whatever they're putting away, they start to get responsible for their own health care. Things start to go down, you know, I mean, it's kind of a win-win where if they can take some of that money, you know, before taxes or whatever you want to say with it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it just makes them a little bit more responsible, and therefore we see some of this
Right.
go down
I think
per
the
employee.
yeah, the hardest part about going from a traditional plan like you have and then going to a high deductible health plan where you have to have at least $1,500 of out of pocket for a single, $3,000 for a family.
You have to have that in order to have an HSA.
Yeah, so, and I think the hardest part is one, getting people through the first year, because it's not like an FSA where you can make an election and that money is ready for you January 1st. HSA, you only have the amount that you put in. So the first year, people are trying to accumulate it. And under $1,500, $3,000, it's not embedded. So one person in that family could be responsible for all $3,000. And it's typically the person who's on a specialty med and they're getting that filled and they're gonna be responsible for all of it. So it's not for everybody. I mean, I know where you're going because our family's relatively healthy and, you know, we can do things at the physician. We're not taking any crazy meds. It works for our family. But certain people that are, you know, maybe having more interactions and, you know, just a lot of activity, it just sometimes doesn't work. So I've seen it where groups will do kind of a dual choice and just try to play with the, you know, the 12% contribution and see, hey, you know, instead of having a defined benefit like we're doing now, we're telling, you know, one size fits all, maybe you add one or two more plans and an employee chooses. I've seen that in our private sector all the time. And yeah, I mean, if you ever survey anybody under the age of 30, they want more take-home pay, right? They think they're invincible and, you know, maybe they don't need a $300 deductible. Maybe they'd like to have a $2,000 or a $2,800 deductible. But when we're self-funded, we make the rules. We can do whatever we want.
And with the mail order, who's gonna be the pharmacy that they use for mail?
So Humana is going to be the pharmacy behind the scenes. I can't remember who their mail order is, but it's all integrated within their little company there.
Just with what I found or seen with the switching every few years, which is fine, but the prescription drug thing was a real pain for the staff.
Well, and I know we've got some questions in. The formulary is always the problem, right? And when you switch from one carrier to the next, there's always certain drugs that are going to go up or down in tiers. So I don't know if we got anything from Melissa on that, but
Just checking.
we're kind of, I saw that when I was getting gas. So we're trying to get a little bit more detail where we can have people, one, look up providers too, so we want to get a provider search out to the members, and then also a formulary where they can see where they fall.
And well, and the other part of it is renewals. You know, if you renew on an annual basis, say in October, and then January 1st, when your first renewal comes, as an example, then you gotta get a new prescription from the physician to the new mail order carrier. So it
Yeah.
gets to be,
It does.
it's doable, and the money savings is necessary.
Yeah, and I know that there are, you know, the carriers have different formularies, and typically on fully insured, they don't give you the option. They usually do give a group of your size the option. You can have a closed formulary or open formulary, or maybe one that's just a little bit more coverage where it's going to be less disruption. And I'm on the side of let's make it easy for people, right? Let's not make them jump through hoops the first year. We can then get data and we can figure out, all right, here's what we're using. Let's go find a partner that will fit our group. So that's kind of how I've done it in the past. I mean, I think, you know, the staff is probably, if we switched like we've talked about, I mean, they've probably had to jump through some hoops, and pharmacy always seems to be the one. I think everyone just looks and is either happy or disappointed that, you know, they're either going to pay more or maybe it's not covered.
And Steve, just so you know, when we were having conversations with Tim, the biggest thing was like, we want to try to avoid as much switch or change and keep people hopefully within their same providers, as well as the pharmaceutical part, because I get it, like, just being able, having to switch, every 2 years, like, school district I was in, we were switching every year. And every change is a little bit more time and exhausting for people that they don't want that part, so.
Sure.
And we're running out of fully insured vendors. I mean, WEA went out of business. We thought that would happen,
Mhm.
especially for us that have been around long enough. I mean, they owned the school market.
Yeah.
And now they're insolvent. It's like, that's just incredible to me. But yeah, I think, our job, I think, is to make this transition easy for people and a benefit to you guys. And then we're gonna get data and we're gonna come back to you with ideas and solutions. You may say, whoa, way too crazy. Fine, that's my job, is to bring these to you and you tell me yay or nay. But I'll never stop bringing you ideas. So,
Another question I had that came up with the program that we started last year with, where the spouse would go off our insurance and, that reimbursement thing, is that
Savings plan?
go away too, or is that still available to
We
them?
can start with that.
Yep.
Okay.
it's a good program. I mean, I think we've got a couple of private businesses that said, spouses are no longer covered. That was a tough one to stand up and have to tell the employees. Should have made the HR guy do it, but I was too nice. I took the bullet for him. But yeah, that one's tough. It's called spousal carve out, and that's hard. But the way the family savings plan, it's a nice, it little nudge out the door, incentive for the members. So that's worked well.
Is that the same as what we're
Mhm.
doing? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So you'll cover the difference in their contributions and when they're out of pockets.
Right.
So it's, again,
And in return, we don't charge for the full cost of a premium for that staff person.
I'm actually on that. I did,
Oh,
yeah, I did that. Yeah, and it's working great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have how many on there right now?
it's pretty good
Mhm.
for a group your size.
Some just took the spouse and dependents off, some took the whole family off, but a little bit of everything. A couple are on the parents till they're young enough to be parents, kind of.
Mhm.
That was fortunate.
Mhm.
Any questions on kind of the numbers page? So move to page 3, and I think we were pretty close there on the providers. I think Matt was going down that route, maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe Steve, you were too, but I got this from Humana, just on their NPOS. They've highlighted, the service area. It's not really encompassing of all the providers that they have in the state. I did a search online, 100 miles from North Fond du Lac on hospitals, and I think there were 103. So they're all over the state. I just got this map. I thought, well, you're gonna probably recognize just about all these names here, right? And when I looked at, kind of the data that we had, boy, it was kind of everyone that you were using.
I don't think we've ever had UW Health involved, but it's on the list, but the Dane County is not blue. So I
Right.
don't know if that,
It's in there. I just, I don't know why. I'm not sure where they got this map from. And the only reason I liked it was because it was better than my 4 pages of hospitals. And I thought this would just be for at least this group here. It was like, hey, all the major providers that you're probably, your members are using are included here. So, but they have Aspirus and they've got, I think Gunderson over to the far west, and I think in the middle there, they got UW. Page 4,
Ignition is SSM.
I still call it Ignition, so.
I do too.
I do. And I do that because I'm thinking, who knows SSM? I mean, really? I should drive by it and see the sign, I mean. Page 4 is just frequently asked questions. I wasn't really gonna go through this. It was more for this kind of reference for you guys. What I did like was on page 5, the chart. I mean, you can see self-funded on the right. Pretty simple, right? Administration, stop loss, claims. Pretty easy, right? You got your floor and you got your ceiling. Now, when you look at fully insured, well, you got administration. Well, profit and overhead, it's a big number. Risk pooling. I love risk pooling. They'll do your renewal. They'll come back and say, well, you had a couple high cost claims. We're going to give you credit on the renewal for those high cost claims. Anything over $125,000, they'll give you credit. Then the next line, they say, well, there's a pooling charge. And it happens to be about a third higher than your credit. And you're like, how does that work? So as you can see, pooling charge is something that you will not have to pay. And then your claims experience. Look at how small your claims experience is in conjunction with the self-funded. You wonder why premiums go up 22%. Because claims are about 75% of our total cost on a self-funded side. But on a fully insured, they don't have much room in for claims. Then you have premium tax. I mean, that's a state tax at 2%. And then required benefits on ACA, the way that they do the state mandates, and then some of the Affordable Care Act benefits that they impose on the carriers, you avoid as a self-funded health plan. Page 7, this was the memo that Matt and this was going to put out. Kind of just.
Tim, did you go over 6? I'm sorry.
Oh, did I skip over? Oh,
Just make
sorry
sure.
about that. I'm flipping the pages here. Oh, you just, thank you. Page 6, thank you, Matt. So this is our WCA, so this is our current, and then we did the Humana self-funded at the 10%. So you're gonna see the new, I guess, employer share on the far left. In the middle is the monthly employee share. So the difference for a single, and this is on a monthly basis, right, or is that per check? I think it's per month, isn't it? Monthly rate, yep. So for a single, it's $11.38 per month. On a family, $25.04.
And then I think it's annualized.
Here, open. I think it's adding that. Yeah. I don't know if she annualized that.
No, that does look like the total premium, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you took it by 10, it's, $130. It's not a lot. 10% seems like a lot, but when it's on a check basis, it's $11 and 25.
And it's pre-tax.
It's pre-tax. Any questions on page 6? And then, as I alluded earlier, page 7, memo that's gonna go out, or did it already go out?
It already went out.
Already went out, yeah, the 4th. Out to the staff, just explaining, the what, the how, the why, and then kind of going through a little bit what we talked about, today.
Any questions about that memo? We wrote it up for our staff to make sure they have a little bit of background before we get into, a deeper dive with some of the presentations we'll have, so.
And then page 8, I don't know what you got this. What's there? Did you find this somewhere?
Yeah, I came from a different presentation.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this, I like this. It just kind of lays out and then inserts Fond du Lac in there. Fond du Lac, so that's good. Just giving you some differences between fully insured and self-funded. And I think the nice part is that going with Humana, it's gonna feel like fully insured. They won't really know the difference because everything's gonna be with Humana. Stop loss, it's gonna be the administration, the medical, and they're gonna have the pharmacy. So it'll look, feel, they'll get a card. It won't say self-funded. It'll just say, North Fond du Lac with their group number and their member
Well, they'll
number.
never deal with the stop loss, will they? The staff would never even know anything about the stop loss.
No, but if you go to a third-party administrator, your card gets pretty busy. Because it's probably no different because you were with a third-party administrator with Group Health Trust with UMR. But if you were to go to a TPA and then you had a different pharmacy benefit manager, your card just gets a little, crazy. Here it's like Humana. Humana's doing everything. So you may have a little bit more moving pieces, but they'll never ever see the stop loss. That's behind the scenes. And that all you'll see is reimbursements. It'll come into your bank account. You'll get EOBs on those claims. But that will be adjudicated, through Humana. And they will report to us on large claims. They'll tell us when we have claims that are, when someone's exceeded that 75, and then they'll let us know when those claims have been paid. And once they're paid, they go to processing. So we'll have reimbursements, and then we'll have pending reimbursements that are in process. So we'll know at any moment how much reimbursements we received, what should we expect.
The big questions that people give a lot is that bottom orange box on the bottom of that last page. It's just kind of alluding to Rick's point before, like NFDL does not process the claims or have access to health records. I mean, and then no change in functionality, as you're talking about before, about the insurance cards, the claims administration, customer service. That's all, through that Humana. So those are important pieces to drive home, obviously, with our staff.
I guess my last question is based on the current year's plan and plans going back, it's just apples to apples, what we're doing, there's no things being dropped from it, certain types of coverages.
So, we haven't got the fun part with Maria yet in mind, where we go through the plan document and we go line by line. And we make sure that it's the same in the way that you want to cover it. Because as a self-funded health plan, if there's something in the fully insured plan that, the staff doesn't like, and it's been a pain in our, we can say, what other ways can we handle this? And make it easier for the district and the members. So you guys are in total control in, how that's set up. Our goal is to mimic the current plan as close as possible, but if there was something that you're just like, oh man, have we dealt with this? That if we can change it or, make it a little bit more user-friendly, that's gonna be the time that we talk about it with Humana.
Melissa did say that if somebody's using like a private practice doctor that was covered under WCA, there might be, very few instances where it isn't covered under Humana, or some formulary drugs might not be in the same tier as they were.
Oh, sure.
So there might be little tweaks there that,
Yeah, I was only referring to things that they might have expected to be in their hearing aids, for example, and the next year it's not covered, and then they're in the process of getting new hearing aids, and then they're like, wow, what happened?
Yeah.
I thought we had that covered. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
There's gonna be little things.
Yeah, I think the formulary is always the one that's always like, no, they're never the same. So is a provider director, right? There's always gonna be a random chiropractor that someone's going to that's not in network, so. But most of the major providers, I can tell you are in.
So you may have already went over this before I got here, so I apologize if I'm being repetitive, but so like now there's, we have a health committee that meets and, right, so is there a way to, if employees do certain things that they get credits for, or we as a district get credit for, if they are, is there a list somewhere with Humana that if we do all of these things in a healthy way, like a preventative type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
is there any, I don't know what to call it, credit or any decreasing in something because of that?
Well,
Or-
since we're self-funded, we're paying for all those claims. So Humana is just gonna administer whatever people, under the plan, if it's covered, if they go and have services, those bills are gonna go to Humana. Humana's gonna pay them to the provider, and then they're gonna keep track. So if Tim Deaton goes over 75, they're gonna then reimburse the district.
So there's no, I guess my question is, that with the self-funded program, unless, I don't know if we can even choose to do this, there is no incentive for somebody to be healthy.
We can do wellness programs.
yeah, the
That's
district
what I
would
mean.
do it.
Okay, the district itself.
We
Yeah,
would
so-
have to, either we can purchase a package, because there's other packages out there, or we could administer something ourselves like we've been doing for the last couple of years.
Okay.
But I think in the fully insured world, there used to be programs where if you did certain things, you could maybe get some discounts off of
Yes.
your renewal.
Yeah.
Self-funded, I think wellness is an important part, preventative care is an important part. And then just makes it the next level for the district of how do we roll that out to the staff? How do we incentivize it? Because we know if you're going to the doctor every year and you're getting your preventative exams, and I'll use DePere as what they do. So DePere's been self-funded, like I said, for well over 10 years. They don't have a formal wellness program. They said if you get your flu shot and you get your preventative exam, they don't have a cost share for their employees. And that was kind of how they got them to self-funded, and they got them to a high deductible health plan. They're currently at $1,650 for a single and $3,300 for a family. 100% thereafter. But they went to a high deductible health plan, and the way they got them there was the no cost share on the monthly premium, and did that with their wellness program. But there's all kinds of ideas to do it. I mean, their preventive adherence is off the charts. It is crazy, which is good. I mean, they don't have many folks with gaps in care. Let's just put it that way. So there's lots of ways to do it. But yeah, being self-funded, and health plans have wellness built into them. All the preventative services are covered at no cost share. It's just getting people to do it.
Medically.
What about the biometric screening that we've done certain years or with certain carriers? Is that a local decision too then?
Yep. So, I mean, a lot of that was value adds within the fully insured. Now it's like, not gonna be a value add. They'll offer it up, but they'll charge you for it. The biometrics are great. I think it gives you a glimpse into what your group is doing, but then what do you do with it? Right? And how do you change behavior? And that's where I think the peer just said, man, what are we gonna do with it?
That's what North Fond du Lac is.
Right, and it's like, I know, and it's like.
We had this conversation, so.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you're gonna listen to the insurance guy? Well, hell no, you're not gonna listen to me. Look at me, probably 30 pounds overweight, for God's sakes. And it's a difficult conversation, because those that are gonna, there are certain people that are gonna do it and certain people that aren't gonna do it. And it's just, how do you get them to adhere to it? And I think the way that the peer looked at it was, we can win them over with premium incentive. When it hits their pocketbook, there seems to be a little bit more attention to, what's happening.
Yeah.
So this isn't necessarily a question for Tim, but I guess, our expected change from this year is down minus 1.5%. Now I know that's expected and what can happen. So I'm wondering how we came up with a 10% increase to the employees if our expected costs are going down by 1.5.
Was the budget that we had put in place.
By who?
Well, that was a budget that we had. So, I mean, I look at this and that's expected, but I think it was.
Oh, no, I understand it's
I just,
expected.
yeah, I mean, I don't, expected and what happened, I just looked at the 16 and I thought, well, hell, we gotta, to leave your, what's hanging out for an additional 17 points. First year when we're trying to build, kind of that reserve account.
But I guess how much money, say we made it 5% instead of 10%. And we're putting employees through a hassle here, right? And we're gonna get hopefully benefit out of it. I'm just struggling if our expectation is we're gonna break even or save 1.5%, but we're raising premiums by 10%. I'm just looking for the logic in that, I guess.
We need to build up that reserve.
I mean, that's where I'm coming
So
from.
how much is the difference between 5% and 10%? Would we collect on that?
From the employee each month, or like $6, right, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 6 on the single and 12 on the family plan.
And we'll keep monitoring that. I mean, if we're down by expected, we can always not charge a premium for a month or 2 months or whatever that is. We have total control over that. Or next year, well, as Tim was saying, and Tim's done this, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we want to avoid, and again, I wish I had a crystal ball, because I could, I can tell you actuarially where you're gonna fit expected, unexpected, if we have a run of claims that we're unaware of, yeah, then you could see that be higher than 10%. I'm not,
Well, right, no, I get.
looking at our past claims, I mean, it's just, I think we're going from a fixed cost to a variable cost in a first year. And just my experience is always to err a little bit on the side closer to the worst case scenario. Just because then whatever money we don't use, we keep. It's not like we're paying, we're not paying an insurance company the premiums. It stays with the district. I do get your point, Rick, that we're charging the employees 10% more, but I'm hoping that if we can get to some level of premium stability, then we're back down, in that 3 to 6 range, and it's consistent, and we're not having to make plan design changes and jump around to other, insurance companies.
And the district can't use that money for anything but health. So it stays in its own account, and that's the only thing we can use that for. We can't use it for maintenance or salaries or anything like that.
Right,
And next year you could change the contribution, or we could
Mhm.
change it to it for
Yeah.
money ahead, and
Yeah.
we could just lower it by
That's the hope,
whatever.
yeah.
yeah, it seems like it's I don't know if I'm doing this on the fly, so excuse me, but. If it's 12. I think we're talking about under 20,000.
I was gonna say 150, just I looked at the bottom there. You're probably closer with it.
I think about, if you did 5%, it'd be about 20,000, I'm guessing, right?
Yep.
I'm doing that quick, so. It just seems to me that we're gonna make people nervous going, one, we're changing again, which is, I agree with what the direction we're going, I'm not arguing that one bit. But we're changing again, we're putting them through some hassle again. And, they've gotten the word it's 10%, if we figured we could live with 5%, that might make the transition easier, and unless you guys think people are just gonna be fine with it as it is, but.
Well, my opinion, I guess, is that they should, or they know, or they should know that they have a hell of a health plan here, and if there's a little increase from year to year, I know what you're saying too. It might
10%'s a big number.
Well, but it's on a paycheck, like we said, $6 and $12, and, and compared to what a lot of people pay with $4,000 deductibles at 80%, 20% copay, stuff like that. I think, I guess I would think of that. Nobody's gonna really grumble if they gotta pay a little bit more on the monthly. And then if we could, and again, we're not using that to buy something else, we're putting it in to reserve, then we can use that, give it back in some manner later if we start to get really overfilled with that.
You said the strategy behind it was 2 years, and then backed off to 3 to 6. If, obviously, there's a lot of
There's
variables.
a lot of variables there, yeah.
there.
Just because you're not mature, right, until you get probably through year 2.
Is your record like you do 4 years of 5% and then back off, or if it played out?
I would see how it played out with
Yeah.
the numbers we actually got the first year.
Gotcha.
Anything else, Tim, that you have?
No,
No.
that was all I had for my packet, so.
So now this is something you probably can't vote on.
Well, I usually abstain for perception purposes, and talking when Gil was hired, talking to our attorney at the time, it's because it involves almost 100% of people in the same way it affects her, that it really would be a legal conflict of interest, but I always abstain just for the record.
I think coming back to the 10% thing, and just my own opinion, my thing is like, we gotta look at it as this investment and also see that the other side of it, like when you look at 16% or some of these other areas where a lot of districts are getting into that 16 to 22% zone, like that's big saving for us in the long run. Right this year, obviously the increase is what it is, but I think it's also like a safe middle ground to play both sides just so that we can, just see what it's going to be like in the years to come. And with the hopes of decreasing that, that's the whole intention from where it's at.
I mean, is the staff gonna see the numbers inside this package?
We've, that memo that came out
Yeah,
I
on
saw the
Friday
memo.
talked about the
10%.
16% that I
Right,
think
no, I'm more concerned if they see this chart.
They'll see it.
that chart,
Yeah, because on here it says we're expected to save 1.47%. So if I'm on the staff, I'm saying, well, you're expecting to save
this is
1.
not something that we should have.
It's not, because it's not on the memo, and it would be, I mean, if you think about it, minus 1.4, and then was it 16 or 15.99 as the max?
Yeah,
You don't land at what, 8%? In the middle, and that's where I would speak to, that's where that 10% comes from.
I'm just saying,
And
I would be ready to answer that question if somebody wants to see that number at some point.
and I think, the number we have to speak to really is the renewal, the 22% and the 16%. And then if, as a district, we need to decide where we would land in there comfortably, and conservatively. Between the negative and the 16%. But I mean, really, truly, if we went apples to apples and fully insured again, it would be a 16%
Right,
increase.
but-
So really, it's
And-
6% less than what we would
I
have
understand
done.
what you're saying, but, we're not doing that, and we're putting them through some stress, and we're hopefully saving money. So, I mean, I understand everything you're saying, and I totally agree with the direction we're going in. That's not my argument.
Yeah, I think we put it out. I mean, what I like is the flexibility to be able to pay it back later too, meaning, to me, if you're taking, and this is just, I'll speak just on behalf of myself, is if I'm taking $12 or $6 out of my check, but instead you're gonna give me back maybe 113 in December one year because I don't have to pay, I'm gonna feel that more, I think, as in a positive way. You know what I mean? Like where it's more of a reward because now I just got myself an extra $113 if.
If and when.
Correct. And all of it's if and when. So, we could do 10% and we could come in at 16% next year or this year then.
No, I understand
Yeah.
there's a risk in it, without that.
I think living in the educational arena and switching insurances every year, yes, there is like a feeling of, oh my gosh, is this going to work this time? But I think that's also the reality of our worlds, like trying to, manage through those arenas. And what I'm really keen on with this plan is that we get the same providers where they're not going to be switching doctors. They can stay within their same frame, as well as I think it's really close pharmaceutical wise. So those two are the biggest things I think families and people are thinking about, at least the ones that I've talked to. And whether that's that 10% versus the 16, that's going to, over time, as long as we're sharing, like this is going to come back, we hope at some point back into their pockets of somehow. That's, I think, the story and narrative we have to share.
It's a good call though, but we have that flexibility, which is good.
Yeah.
To be able to do that instead of what we're currently at.
All right. If there's nothing else then, we'll move to item F, new business. And the first item there is to discuss and consider implementing self-funded insurance through Humana. Entertain a motion to do that. If I can-
Is this a motion to discuss or is
Yeah,
this a
let's,
recommendation?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I
And
can
that's the agenda item, I guess, right,
recommend the approval of the Humana self-funded plan for the 2023 year.
oh, we need.
Am I
board-
doing this? 'Cause
I'll make the motion.
Oh.
Move forward.
Yeah, sorry.
Sarah was.
Okay.
I'll second.
Great, Sarah, you're doing this. Thank you.
I think that Steve was fidgety for you.
Okay, then, any, one last call for discussion? All right, Matthew,
Yes.
Deckerman,
Yes.
Hawk, abstain. Golovsky,
Yes.
and Jaeger absent. Okay, motion carries. I put X's, but that means yes, so.
Sarah's got it anyways.
Oh, okay,
Can
all
I-
right.
Can I get an electronic copy of this? Thanks.
I think I may have sent it to you, I'm not sure. I
And
don't have
then motion to adjourn?
Oh, do we have to do the dental as well, or is that part of it?
I put them as two separate line items, just in case, so I don't know, do we typically?
How is it
Dental?
I
different?
think we're gonna have
It's
the
not
package.
changing at all. There's no
It's not.
premium increase, it's still Delta Dental, still self-funded.
I don't think we've ever,
Okay.
Okay,
Separated.
I wasn't sure. We're still trying to navigate
Because
this.
yeah, well, it's not on the agenda anyway, so we could always add it to November or something if we feel it has to be approved, but I don't think we've ever done that.
It's part of the package.
Okay.
So next steps are the 14th is what we're hoping is going to be our open enrollment meeting. It'll be virtual.
It's a webinar, is that
It's
right?
a-
Or is it a,
It'll be a virtual meeting with
Okay.
Humana there and Melissa there, and hopefully Network Health. So trying to get all of those. She was trying to work on the logistics of that today. And we thought virtually would be easier for everybody, and then they can contact if they have individual questions, they can contact Humana.
we'll also record it too, so people can, if they can't be there for that time, people can play back.
But
Does
we're-
Humana have like, a lot of time with a lot of change like this, does Humana have like a hypercare set up for us or
I don't know.
not?
Oh.
We use hypercare in our world where, like, for the 48 hours after, because that's when a lot of questions come out, instead of getting thrown at the staff, they have like an open 24-hour line that we get a code and directly goes right to us. That is someone that's really
Okay.
informed about our policy.
Yeah, I don't know if, they
Okay.
have that. We'll double check.
Alright.
Otherwise, you're calling my house. How about that?
Yeah.
That'll be the.
Well, that's when most of the questions come.
Yeah. Hello, Sudip.
Yeah.
Tim, hypercare.
Yeah.
But we're still waiting for confirmation that Melissa was working on getting all those partners together, so.
Did get an email here. We have the open formulary with the enhanced preventative rider. That's the most, it's the one that makes it the easiest to transfer to Humana. So based upon, we gave them kind of our drug list, and they said that would be the one that would cause the least disruption. So we're on with that one.
It's all hot for us.
I know. She should be working on her car.
I told her to work on that.
But I think we can go ahead and adjourn, so if there's a motion, do so.
I'll second.
Okay, and roll call. Deckerman,
Yes.
Golovsky,
Yes.
Akers, absent, Matthew,
Yes.
and Hawk, yes. Meeting adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank